Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Silicon Valley Innovation Center interview. We're coming to you live. My name is Rahim Tula. I am your host today. And joining me, I'm delighted to say, is Gregoire Jozan. He is a solution architect at Cinequa. So, Greg, thank you for being with us on the program. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Rahim, for welcoming me. Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon.
And so, Greg, we have you on the program today to talk all about AI and how companies can use AI to become what we might call information-driven organizations. And we want to get your take on exactly what that means. But before we go there, I think one of the main topics that we see within this topic of being information-driven is there's a distinction to be made between data. There's a lot of data out there. Everybody wants to use data today as much as they can, collect as much as they can, and draw as much insight as they can out of it. But there are two types of data. One of those is unstructured data. The other is structured data. And I believe this is a key differentiator, a key moment of differentiation in when we talk about data. So first, let's just start there, Greg. Tell us, what is the difference between structured and unstructured data? What does it mean for us in the context of the organization?
Okay, so structure and unstructured. So that's a very good question to start. So what you need to understand is that we work with enterprise data. So we are working with large companies who have a lot of data. And what we try to accomplish is that we try to search and extract insight within this internal data. And in fact, structured data is data that usually large companies already know what to do with. It's data which is already organized. So for example, it's data coming from a database. It's already organized in tables, in columns. The data can come from a CRM system. It can be logs. And we know how to handle them. And for that, we have what we call connectors to be able to connect to this data source. So we can connect to any type of database, we can connect to CRM system, and we can really handle that properly. But in addition, in fact, we have what we call unstructured data. And in fact, unstructured data is where you have the most of all the data, especially in large companies. And because you are going to, right now, they are experiencing a huge growth on unstructured data. These data are noisy. They are, most of the time, they are written in natural language. And these data are, for example, a report. It can be a publication. It can be a contract. It can be all the email in your company. It can be a PowerPoint presentation, a PDF, a diagram. So all this information, you are going to find a lot of insight within this data. And sometimes you don't have the right tool to grab the right information in this data. And what is really important is that, in fact, the structured data is going to give you the what, but the unstructured data is going to give you the context. It's going to explain to you why you have found this particular data in this database or this particular information in this CRM system. So the main idea of what we are doing right now is try to combine the two to have the capacity to crawl and extract information out of structured data and unstructured data. And again, what is really, really key in order to access to this data is connectivity. So you need to be able to connect on any kind of data source. So when we are talking with unstructured data, you need to be able to connect to SharePoint. You need to be able to connect to Box, to Dropbox, to Salesforce, to Twitter, to Facebook, to Google Drive. So for that, we developed lots of different types of connectors because the first thing is connectivity. Connectivity is really key. And once you manage to get access to all this data, then you can start to organize this data.
Yes, thank you, Greg. And so is it the case then, are we taking the unstructured data and making it somehow structured? Is that the idea? What happens with that unstructured data, all those emails, all those transcripts, whatever they may be, as an individual or as a team, if we attempted to sort of go through all of that information in a company, I don't know, we wouldn't know where to begin. But if we're using some sort of artificially intelligent platform, what is it then going to do to that data that's going to somehow make it intelligible?
Yep. So for that, we are going to leverage multiple different types of process. So the first thing that we are going to use is a search tool. We want to make everything searchable across the organization. But in addition to that, we want to capture the right information. So we want to make smart strategic decisions. And for that, we are going to leverage different types of techniques. So for example, we are going to leverage natural language processing. So natural language processing gives you the possibility to understand what is the meaning of a document, even if it's written in a natural language. Then we are going to leverage other techniques like text mining. Text mining gives you the possibility to extract the right information inside a document. And then we are going to use, for example, machine learning in order to, for example, detect patterns, we detect similarity between all these documents. We are going also to use this machine learning technique in order to enrich the content, to automatically find associated information, and also to classify data.
And so Greg, give us an example. What sort of things then with this, these business tasks that I have to do every day, or I'm trying to get my work done? What are the sort of, what are the key things that this sort of, these processes, this applying this artificial intelligence to all this data, what is it going to help me do, faster, better, so on?
Yeah. So the benefit of such technique, or the first benefit, the basic level, and I talk about it, is to find the information. So data is growing. So you need to find, for example, information about your customer. You need to find information about your project. You need to find information about this specific piece of component. But then what you want to do is try to turn that search into a business solution. So you want to, the idea is to have the right information exactly at the right time. So the first phase would be you are looking for one particular document, for example, and an example of what we can do is, for example, you want to centralize all the purchasing orders that you are going to have in your company. So we are going to crawl all the information across the organization. Every time we are going to detect one of these specific documents, we are going to gather this information and we are going to extract the key information out of that. So that's one example of what we can build on top of this tool in order to have a business solution. Sometimes it can be different. Sometimes you can search for a specific project. So for example, the question can be, did we already done a similar project in the past? And that's really important because sometimes you have a lot of duplicates and what you want is not do again the same thing that you have done in the past. So we have this possibility to give you an overview of all the projects which are happening right now and automatically detect what is the similarity between these different projects. And another example is sometimes what you're looking for is not a piece of information, it's not a piece of knowledge, but what you want to find is someone. You want to find people. You want to find the right people in order to discuss exactly the very specific project or specific subject that you have in mind. So for that, we are going to build not a document search, not a knowledge search, but a people search. And what we are going to do is we are going to surface all the information associated to all this information. We are going to know who is the author of this particular document, who is the person which have been mentioned in this particular piece of information, and we are going to create an expertise knowledge, and we are going to automatically detect the right people associated to a project and to a subject, and automatically tell you how these people are connected one to another. So these are different types of examples of benefit that can build on top of this kind of technology.
No, thank you. That's it's very interesting. I'm interested, as well to think a little bit about the sort of the role of artificial intelligence, generally in organizations. So how far do you see this sort of technology going? I mean, to what extent is it, something, do you see it becoming sort of part of, a very core part of the work that, companies might do? For example, I presume, this sort of technology is applicable in, say, pharmaceuticals, finance, potentially, manufacturing. It could, have a lot of different use cases. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on that? How far artificial intelligence like this, really will become a major part of what we do, or is it just a tool? Is it just one of many tools that we will have?
Yeah. So first, I'm going to talk about AI, and after that, I will give you some example for different vertical. But for AI, the idea is that so AI is a vast subject, as you know, and what you need to know is that there is a lot of hype around AI. I see a lot of people who come to see me and say, "Oh, I want to do AI." No, you don't want to do AI. You have a problem. You are going to discuss about this problem, and maybe some artificial intelligence and machine learning technique are going to be the right fit for that. But maybe AI is not going to be the solution. Maybe just using a very basic, simple logical rules is going just enough. So before doing AI, we need first to define what we want to accomplish. We need to define what are the business objectives. Do you have a return on investment on this particular part? Because AI is not something which is plug and play. If you want to do some machine learning, you need to have a lot of training data. You need to train a model. It's an iterative process. So you need to want to be sure that you are going to this particular path. So that's why first we discuss, and in fact, again, we are going to leverage. What we are using is machine learning. That's the type of technology that we are leveraging. So we are using machine learning and deep learning if we even want to have a better refined model. But machine learning is something where you need training data. You need to know what you want to accomplish. So as I said, do you want to detect a specific pattern? Do you want to detect a specific similarity? Do you want to classify automatically data? And if we have a use case like that can be automated, then yes, we are going to leverage this kind of technique. And for that, for example, in finance, we are using a machine learning model to automatically detect contractual documents. So we are going to automatically find all the contracts associated with a bunch of lot of information, and automatically we are going to detect, for example, payment terms within this contract. So this can be really useful. We are also doing a lot of classification, for example, to rate bank loans documents. So do we have is this going to be a good loan or a bad loan? So all this is kind of a categorization mechanism which can be built on top of a model. So that's about finance. But for example, for pharma, the idea would be sometimes you have to answer some regulatory requests. So you need to find, for example, all the adverse events who are associated to one particular molecule. So you want to find all the association between this molecule and this drug, this disease, this indication, and that's where we are going to try to detect pattern and association, and that can be really useful. Another example is for call center. So for call center, sometimes you have to route the right support ticket to the right person, to the right team. So that's something that can be really easily automated because usually in call center, you have a lot of experience data, you have a lot of historical data that you can leverage in order to build exactly the right model in order to make the right decision. So these are all examples of things that you can do every time you want to automate a process, or if you want to extract one specific pattern out of a vast amount of data.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And then when you do so, for example, extract that piece of information from a large body of knowledge, huge body of unstructured data, you can extract something. Is it then for us as humans, to then make the qualitative judgments there? If we might think, should we launch a new product? Should we start a new offer? Shall we, change something that we're doing? I mean, do you think AI can necessarily tell us the answers there, or is it more about getting us the right information in front of us in the first place, and then we will then make ultimately make those judgments about the qualitative judgments about what action we take based on all the information that the AI has extracted?
Yeah. So for us, what we are doing is at the end, the human is still the one which is making the decision. What we provide is really a tool. We provide a recommendation. We provide the right information at the right time. So what we are going to do is we are going to crawl all the available information in order to extract what is really useful, what is something that's really, and this is something that you really want to automate. You don't want to spend a lot of time to find this information. You want to have it right here. But at the end of the day, where we are right now is that it's a human decision that is going to be made. What we want is we want to have less people searching and finding data, and we want to have more sophisticated business process in order to bring the right information at the right time. But we are working for people. The idea is we are not working to produce data. We are really working to help people day-to-day job. So, for example, everything that we are going to automate, these are techniques that we are going to use based on how people are searching, how people want to have this information. So we are going to work with them in order to provide them what they are looking for. But at the end of the day, it's still a human that is going to make the decision.
Sure. And so in that sense, it sounds like, an AI platform like this is very much of the moment, in the sense that this is how we use AI today. And this is where we are with AI today. But Greg, as someone who, is working in, as I could say, the front lines of the technology, where do you see it going? Do you believe that, if this is the current stage where at the end of the day, humans are still making those decisions, AI is about extracting, information from big data. Is that going to remain the status quo for 5-10 years, or what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. So what we are doing is that we are still at a stage where so the first thing that we are doing is finding the right information. So that's the very first step. What we are doing right now is not find information. We are going to organize the data with all the context in order to give you the right. Is going to tell you exactly what you should do to make the right decision. But where we are going is that today we are still a lot in pull mode. People still want to have access to a particular kind of information. But where we are going is going to be more and more push, which means that it's going to be more and more the process that is going to provide the information before somebody tries to reach for it. So the main idea is that today we are going to use all these techniques to industrialize this technique, to make them automated and not to wait that somebody is looking for one specific business context.
So you mean that the AI platform may produce the information even without being asked?
Exactly. The idea is really to move to a pull situation where you are going to be in a push situation, where we are going to promote, we are going to make more and more recommendations, we are going to detect specific pattern in all the information that we are ingested, and based on that, we'll be able to trigger some specific information before somebody is going to ask for it.
Wonderful. Well, Greg, that sounds very, very interesting. That's an excellent little preview, I think, into the future. I think that's where we're almost out of time. So I think that's probably where we'll have to wrap things up. Perhaps give you the last word, though. I think, that sounds like we described, that's the essence as we started the top of the program, talking about what it means to be an information-driven organization. I mean, that sounds like you've cut it there. That's the essence of it, is to take all your data and actually be able to use it effectively, to really understand what it is telling you.
Yeah, that's really the idea. I mean, the quote that we are using a lot, it's a quote from Warren Buffett, and he said, I look at the actuarial tables about the rate, the death rate, and he said, the lowest death rate is among 6-year-olds. So I decided to eat exactly like a 6-year-old. So that's exactly the mistake that you are doing if you are taking a look only at the data. But in fact, what is important is not to take a look only at the data, but also all the context which is around, because that's what is going to provide you the right insight about what's going on right now.
Wonderful. Well, Greg, thank you so much for speaking with us today. That's where we will wrap things up. So to you, thanks for taking the time today to be with us. And to our audience watching out there, we also thank you for tuning in to hear my conversation today with Gregoire Jozan, a solution architect at Cinequad. And if you've enjoyed my conversation today, do check our website, siliconvalley.center. You can find our past interviews. We also have webinars, and you can find out as well about upcoming online events there too. But for this edition, that's where we will wrap things up. So once again, thank you very much for being with us, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.